Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brian Graffam. I'm with Parr Springer Miller Systems, and today we get a chance to finally look at SMS Host Anywhere. We're very pleased to announce that Parr Springer Miller Systems will now have a mobile version of Host, I have with me today Keith Landers. He's the CEO of gladTOHAVEYOU, who we've partnered with this initiative. In addition, we have Mark Gordon with gladTOHAVEYOU, the Senior Product Manager with gladTOHAVEYOU. We will be going through a slideshow presentation followed by question and answers while we take a look at these questions into the product itself. At the end, we will discuss hardware requirements after the question and answer session, and then we will discuss pricing as well towards the end. Everybody will be in listen only. Mark, myself, and Keith will be discussing the product. We will allow for questions at the end. You can type them into your webinar. On the right-hand side in the menu, you have a questions section that you can pose your questions. I will be presenting them to both Keith and Mark, and they will be answering them. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Keith Landers, and go ahead and take it away, Keith.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody taking the time today. We're going to spend about the next 15 minutes sort of going over the features of the system. As we get into this, when we get into the question section, as you guys have different questions about how the process works, Mark Gordon, who's our Senior Product Manager for SMS Anywhere, is actually going to bring up the app. He's going to show you those pieces. So based on your questions, we'll show you what we have and what its capabilities are using our simulator for that specific platform. Let me just, before we get started, give you guys a little bit of background of who we are. gladTOHAVEYOU is, we started our company in January of 2012 and have been really focusing on really changing the game in the guest and hospitality space around guest management systems. We have over 320 different resorts that are using the gladTOHAVEYOU professional mobile platform. And over the past year and a half working with Springer Miller and through our different implementations, Springer Miller wanted to find one partner that they could work with, that they believed in their technology, that they thought had a unique way to bring things in a different way, and that they could partner with to build some special services and capabilities for SMS. And so over the past 6 months, Chris and the rest of the team basically went off and did an RFP to figure out which of those partners made the most sense. And during that process, they chose us. And then together as a whole, we've spent the past several months building out the new gladTOHAVEYOU, the SMS Anywhere platform. So this is a product and service that you purchase directly through Springer Miller, as well as the new partnership between our two companies. You can actually purchase the gladTOHAVEYOU professional guest management system, which is our mobile platform for your systems as well, through Springer Miller. We'll be doing separate webinars, or we'll be glad to set up time to show it for your specific resort anytime you'd like. Just send us an email after that process. But today's webinar is going to be specifically on the SMS Host Anywhere product line. We'll do separate ones for you privately, or also hold webinars around the professional platform in a separate section. So let's sort of get started. When we just give you a little bit on our concepts here, our goal was to really take the host platform and not replicate exactly the same concepts that you have at the desk, but to essentially provide a tool or service that takes advantage of a mobile state and allows you to really know everything that you need to know about your guests and enable all those kind of things that you might want to do when you're away from the desk, and do it in a mobile interface that's clean, concise, simple, and can be done very fast and very efficiently as part of that model. If you think about that concept at a high level, the first goal of the system is to enable complete check-in and check-out services at the curb or wherever you're at with that guest at any point in time. We wanted to provide you all the data that we know about the guest, not only the data that you have in Springer Miller, but if you're using the gladTOHAVEYOU professional system, all the data that you have to learn about the guest through our mobile platform as well. We wanted you to have all the tools that told you everything that was going on about your customers. And really, we wanted you to be able to do this without having to spend a lot of time and effort in trying to reintegrate all your employees into the system. So one of the key features of our entire model was our system totally integrates on top of SMS. And when it does is it uses the same user IDs and passwords and program services that you use today for your employees. So everybody works in that same manner in that process. So the first part of this process is that when you log into the application, it's really providing you the ability to find everything about that guest. And instead of having to figure out what term or function searching, up here in the top of the bar, you can come into the platform and you can search by name. You can search by first name. You can search by last name. You can search by reservation number, unit number, group name, anything that you would like inside that system, and we will find all the information about that person automatically. I think we've actually made some other additions to that, which Mark will talk about, but what we're trying to do is through one process find all of the people in a specific group or find everybody in any specific area that you'd like and show you all those people instantaneously. Also, you can, of course, filter by SMS levels at the same time using this point right here, which then lets you limit or break them down on the pieces that are important to you. Once you're there, you can click on this other button here and say, just show me all the guests today that are arriving. So as you're in conversations with somebody, you can see each of those different segments. And then, of course, you can also see the status of who's a VIP or not. I think we're actually upgrading that to support different types of status as part of that process right now. Another part of that view is show me who's departing. So you click on this view right here, and when you click on that view, you can rapidly, who's departing and arriving as part of that specific model. As you click on a specific customer, you then go into the detailed information so that you can see all the specific things about each person. So looking into the system, you get different groups of information. You've got all the information about the reservation. You have all the information about the folio and all the specific detail. And each of these menus scroll and move through each of those specific areas automatically as part of that capability. As you go into and click into that specific information, every piece of information that you're used to seeing inside Springer Miller is now also available for you inside on this onside the iPad application itself. So you can scroll up, scroll down, and anything that's editable supported through Springer Miller, you can also edit as well. So every part of the reservation and all the business rules that are supported inside Springer Miller are also supported inside this mobile platform as part of that model. You can see all available units based on specific current unit type, and you can go in and literally change departure dates, do moves on the units. You can literally upgrade and downgrade rooms dynamically based on that specific requirement, essentially enabling everybody, you to do whatever you need to do for that specific guest. You can go in and make keys automatically as part of that model, and our system automatically understands all of the different keys and the different places you have keys set up in your organization, and so you can choose which key printer you want to send that to as part of that process. You can print registration cards, and our system understands all your printers inside the environment and will automatically enable it so that you can push or send a print registration process for those specific for that person as part of that model. And we're actually expanding upon that into digital registration on the next version as part of that piece as well. Of course, you can check in a guest and you can take their credit card. So as part of this model, we have a credit card swipe unit that fits on top of this, which allows you to swipe that credit card, and then once you swipe that credit card, it puts it inside Springer Miller, and it becomes part of their folio as they move forward as part automatically inside that system. You can see the folio view, which allows you to show that folio view to the specific customer. You can print the folio view to a printer, or you can automatically email it to the email address they have on file, or choose another email address that they would like to have it sent to as part of that capability, all of that out of the box. For reservations, you can see all the messages that you have that are related to that system. So very quickly, you can come in and create a message for a guest. You can see those messages, and if you have the Glad to Have You Professional system, you can actually have the message sent to the guest automatically as a real-time notification. So as an example, if the guest wanted to be told when the room became available, and so you set a message up to do that, and then the room becomes available, it'll automatically tell the guest on their mobile phone that it's there, and then once they click on it and read that message, the message will be marked as read automatically as part of that model, part of the integration with the Glad to Have You Professional piece. The system supports creating notes, so you can go in here and create notes by customers, by section, and do that all automatically for each one of the customers. And you can automatically see all the traces that have been done inside the system as part of that model. Again, extremely simplistic, very simple to use, very little training required for the customers, but one single process that enables all those capabilities. So went through it very quickly. What I'd like to do is turn this over to Mark, And Brian, do we have any specific questions that we'd like to take him through? Or Mark, if you want to do some demonstrations of the system and show it in real time, that'd be great.
Great. Thank you very much, Keith. The first question that we have right now at this time is, can you show us and walk us through a check? So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Mark here.
Okay, and yeah, please jump in if there's any questions. The very first screen that we're looking at is obviously the summary screen. These are all the arrivals, departures, and reservations for the day, and it will show previous day. It's plus or minus host date, so therefore it'll show yesterday's and tomorrow's and today's reservations in a list. So that means it'll show you all levels at that point in time for the day. To walk through what you do to walk through, we'll use a mod here. This is running on my iPad, and I'm displaying it on the screen. What we'll do is the check-in process is find the particular entry, person that you want to check in. And this is actually hitting a test server up in Stowe. So this is live against live data right now. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen, I'll just kind of quickly just go over the screens as Keith mentioned. The first part of the screen deals with reservation details. You can see certain reservation information here, the rate, unit number, and so forth. Down below is some folio information, and to the far right is the guest details themselves here at the bottom right. You notice down at the bottom of the screen, there is a check-in process. If we hit check-in at this point in time, are you sure you want to check this reservation in? If I were to hit yes, it will, if the credit card adapter was available, if I hit yes, it said no credit card device is detected. If the credit card device was attached to the bottom, it would basically say it would come up and ask for a credit card to be swiped. Once the swipe is done, and then it will contact host and then assign a room at that point in time. So that's the check-in process.
Another question that we have presented to us is this going to be iPad exclusive, or will it work on other tablets?
Currently, right now, go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was going to answer that. So technically, the system has the ability to work on multiple devices, both iPhone and iPad and Android. But the limitations of the Android environment really have more to do with PCI compliance and safety from a credit card perspective. So the initial version of this application is only going to work with iPad until we come up with a clean solution to handle the credit card transaction processing pieces around Android. So at least for the foreseeable future, version 1 is iPad only.
Great, thank you.
And right now, this is running on an iPad 2 with iOS 7 is how I'm demonstrating currently.
The next question is, will the app be able to take a picture of the guest and store it on the folio or on the record?
Not at this point in time, but that is on the development plan for early, I believe it's early January, that the ability to do digital reg cards, signatures on a reg cards, because currently you can only print them out to a local printer that's next a designated printer. So the ability to sign, and I believe also the ability to take a photo and then store that in host. So it's not available now, but it should be available early next year.
Great, thank you. The next question is, is there an operating system specific? Does it have to be iOS 7, I'm assuming is the question.
Well, currently right now we are just targeting iOS 7 with at least an iPad 2. That's not to say it won't work with iOS 6, but what we found is that most everybody, when there is an update to iOS 7, to the iOS, people normally upgrade. So right now it's been tested and it will be certified here shortly with iOS 7.
So Mark, why don't you just do a quick walk through the system and just show some of the different pieces that we were discussing a minute ago? So.
Sure. I'll go back into Ahmad. I'll tell you what, let me step backwards here. I'll just go over the front really quick, the first initial screen. The first initial screen kind of gives you an overall summary. Obviously, on the left side is that when you touch the check, everybody that's checking in, this entire list will show everyone that's checking in today. The orange on the left is everybody that's going to be checking out today. If I choose the top button, that's pretty much everybody, all reservations. At this point in time, on the left, you'll notice like a little funnel, or I'm sorry, on the right. If you click right on the right, you can, at this point in time, filter by host level. So I can go ahead and you notice these are orange even though that I'm chose in-house. That's because the data that we're using right now is everybody that's in-house. Obviously an in-house reservation, anybody that's checking out today is basically an in-house person with the host date of today, departure date of today, but they're still in-house. And then I can clear that. I can search for a particular name and pull back. As you can tell that I was checked out. If I choose that reservation, the colors of the reservation, host has certain colors. These colors are configurable, but I try to keep it as close as possible to the context in which host displays colors. So you'll notice that now the different tabs and everything are black because this person's been checked out. And at the bottom on the action bar, you'll also notice that a lot of the things are missing, such as check-in. Since they're checked out, we don't have a check-in, or we don't have a check-out button because they've already been checked out. We could view the additional information. At this point in time, on the bottom left, and I can go back and demonstrate, on the bottom left, there's a button for editing an actual reservation. I'll do that here in a second, but since they're checked out, that button doesn't show up. We can view the folio at this point in time, and at this point in time, we could print the folio, and we could go ahead and send the folio as well. If the email that's on file in host is one that's that they want to send to a different email can be put in there at this point in time by hitting change email. When you change an email, you also have the option when the email is changed to either post it into host or just send the email. So it gives you that option. I'm going to go back. For messages, we'll go through messages real quick. As you can see, there's some messages, recent reservation messages. There's notes, and at this point in time, we can't create notes when they're checked out. And at reservations, you'll notice on all reservation messages, if they're closed, you can recover at any point in time. And I will go in and demonstrate one that's clear the search. We'll go back into, say, Ahmad. And then we'll view detail. I'm going to show everybody the update process or the edit process. So at this point in time, the reservation is arriving. I can hit edit, and as you can see, everything in bold or the black font are items that you can enter, or I'm sorry, edit. So at this point in time, everything that's in bold, such as the guest information, email, contact information, as well as changing the unit number or changing, we could go ahead and change either the rate or the unit type or both at the same time. And if your organization does upsell, downsell process and it's configured in the database, configured by property, then it will start, depending on the unit type rank, it will actually go through the process of the upsell, downsell process. At this point in time as well, we could change the departure date and then hit save, and it posts right back into host. Let's see. There's the check-in. We'll just go back into messages. You see at this point in time, I can go ahead and say close, and so this message will be closed, and then I can go ahead and recover the message if I choose to. And obviously, all this is in sync with host. What we're doing is posting and using the diplomat messages. So if somebody were in host at this point in time, that the status of that reservation message would also be changed as well. I'll go back to the main screen. And again, at the top, you can search for res number, unit number, last name, actually first name, group number, and group name as well. And at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you'll notice it says 339. The greenish color is everybody that's checking in today, and you can see the 339 is a total of checking and checking out, and then you'll see a sliver of orange that indicates in that graph that that's the amount of people that's checking out today. So you can get a really good view of who's the numbers they're checking in compared to checking out today. And pasting, or I'm sorry, not pasting, but paging. We can page through, so using the arrows at the top, and page back and forth through the data. And to log out, you can just swipe to the left, or I'm sorry, swipe to the right, and the log out button is presented to log out from the app. Are there any other questions? Anything that anybody would like me to demo?
Yeah, we have quite a list of questions here. We'll start with this question. Does this handle multi-property, multiple buildings, or does it show just all arrivals for the same property regardless?
Right now, that was something that's been asked for, and we're working through that during HUG for multi-prop, and something that we want to filter. We're looking at placing a filter. There's two parts to the multi-prop. One is to filter just by multi-prop, so you get everything back and filter by it, and we're looking to doing that, as well as since you log into the system with your credentials, your Springer-Miller credentials, what we're working on as well is the return message should allow us to determine which multi-props you're allowed to view. So there's two parts to that, and I know we're looking at implementing the first half of that is to be able to filter by multi-props. Then the second part of that is that, okay, do you have the right to look at that multi-prop? So in this version, as of right now, you can't do it, but that is on the list to do, because that was a high request during HUG.
Great, thank you, Mark. Another question we have here is, you mentioned a few features in development. Will those features be automatically added as part of the service?
Mark, let me sort of answer that one. So the best way to put it is that most of them, the answer would be everything that we currently have planned will be added automatically, and as we add those new features, it'll automatically be added to the app and be included as part of the service in that model. I will reserve judgment to say that we may be adding entire new segments of capabilities that later may not be included as part of the subscription service. But when you're thinking about all the features and functions of what SMS Anywhere was designed for, it will be included as part of that price.
Great, thank you, Keith. The question that I'll probably go ahead and take is, will the service be available for SMS POS? Assuming this is for the touch system. Today a touch can already be mobile on a mobile device and on a tablet device. We should probably talk to your account manager in order to get something like that done for you. So that's more of a touch related element right now. This is for host. Another question we have is, when sending an email, does it use the template that's in host?
Well, it's when sending an email, currently the way it works today is when you send an email such as the folio email, it'll generate, the PDF is generated in the host system, so it currently uses the standard I'll just say, look and feel of the folio today. So that will be an attachment to the email that is sent to the guest. What is configurable is the text that goes into the body of that email. So currently, right now, it's static text that we could it will put the res number and the subject and the guest and something that's configurable in the body of the text from the property. But at this point in time, the actual body of the email itself is not dynamically based on a template at this point. It is once you set it up, you can add the body information and it's static for everybody. We're also looking to make that more of a template driven. But as far as the attachment is concerned, the folio, it's generated based on the property template.
Great. Another question that we have here is, with CC processing using tokens, will it pick up the token from host and recognize it?
All that we do is everything flows through host. So once the credit card swipe occurs, it doesn't go through any of our infrastructure at all. It will hit host directly from the iPad. So once the credit card is swiped, it will hit the host through Diplomat's interface into host, and so everything is tokenized at that point in time. We don't store or do anything with credit card.
The question is, Mark, is if the credit card was already on file, could the system use it? And I think the answer is yes, right?
During check-in, as it currently right now, if they're checking in, we require the credit card to be swiped at this point in time.
Got it. Okay.
Do the stars indicate VIP status?
Yes, stars. We're looking at adding additional statuses right now. The stars do indicate the ones that that are solid are VIPs. I think for how I made everybody VIPs. That's all configurable because I know that properties use certain VIP codes for different things, so we can identify when setting up a property that this character or such a characters are for VIPs, and if that's the case, the star will turn gold for VIPs.
How do you check to see if a room is vacant?
Sure, I'll go through that here real quick. During a check-in, I'll just so right now, go to a mod. Typically on here will be a status and housekeeping status of the unit. If we were to go ahead and, this is not very good data here, but if we go ahead and hit edit, I believe it might take a second because unit number, it's going now and sending the request to the diplomat and then the host and getting the available unit numbers. And so here you can see that's occupied clean. These are all coming back from host. So you can choose a particular room here at this point in time and then go ahead and hit save, which will return post to host.
Right.
Good question.
Great. There is a setting inside of host that allows you to manually modify the credit limit. Can we edit the credit limit on a reservation, or is it dictated by the credit card authorization?
At this point in time, we don't do anything with as far as credit. It's not to say that we can't if the messages are available from Springer Miller, but at this point in time, we don't.
Okay. We're getting a question, which connector does the credit card swipe use? I'm assuming that's the add-on at the bottom of the tablet?
Yeah, that all depends.
Well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we have specific credit card ones that we have got certified to work with Springer Miller. So as part of the process, we have, when you make the decision that if you want to purchase SMS Anywhere, we'll connect you up with those specific providers, and those are the ones that we've got the compliance process done with to actually handle that effort. So, and there's actually two different ones that depending on what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and the credit, and they can use the wide pin or the small pin depending on the which model iPad you get. You can get the different swiper based on the pin, the connector size for the bottom of the iPad.
Okay, great. On the checkout, can we move charges from Folio 1 to Folio B? Also, can we make adjustments in charges on the checkout?
No, not at this time. I know that there is a timeline to, I believe it's mid-next year, to look at the ability to moving from different, the ability to add charges and do things that you could do at the front desk, but as of today, you can't do that.
All right. Can you apply gift certificates or accept cash to check, as previously stated with the CC check-in? What about cash-only guests? Can you override the CC needed? So if I wanted to check in a cash guest, can I do this?
Not at this point in time. I can ask if the requirement was to take a credit card. That's not to say that we couldn't do something like that to override. The check-in process today through the DIP server requires a credit card, the message, in order to check somebody in. So I'll get with Springer Miller and we can see if we can add something like that. That's a good question.
Okay. Are the user access based on the PSMS access, or is it specific to SMS Anywhere? That's a good question. Is it pulling
I'm sorry,
user?
you broke up. Can you repeat that again?
Absolutely. And I'm going to go ahead and assume here, although we know what happens when you assume, that are user rights being pulled from host, as in there's a user right to be able to edit a guest reservation or a guest record. Are those rights the same when it comes to SMS Anywhere?
Currently, right now, we just validate through Springer Miller whether the person has the ability to log in or not using a password. So at this point, we don't validate who can edit and who can't edit, but the system is designed to do that. So once the messages are set up to do that, then we'll be able to turn that button on or off, the edit button that I demonstrated, whether the user has the ability to edit reservations or not. So at this point in time, if you have access to host, you have access to use the software and to edit. The further versions will take in consideration. I'm sorry, my server just went. Will take in consideration their credentials in host.
Okay. Is there now or will there be support for resort scheduling?
That has been talked about. I really don't know the status of that at all. I know it's been talked about. I know that there's, Keith, you might know.
Well, the answer is resort scheduling is not supported today, but if that's something that you have a need for, you should let Springer Miller know and let them know of your interest in that area. We've had other people express interest, and if the APIs are made available, we'll enable that as part of the application.
Okay. Will this require a standalone server box to interface this app to host?
No.
No. I mean, you have to obviously, I think the server requirements that we'll get to, I think it's you have to have Diplomat 4, version 4.
That's correct.
If that, and that's all that's needed to interface. And this doesn't have to understand to, as far from an infrastructure perspective, we can use standard Wi-Fi, but because it's using all Diplomat interfaces, this can also be used through the cellular network. So you can take the iPad to a location that may not have very good Wi-Fi, and you can use the iPad to do check-ins as well, even though you're not on or do lookups for guests or so forth, even though you're not on the actual network itself, the company network.
All right. A follow-up to a previous question regarding the emailing is, will we be able to edit the body of the email yourselves, or is that something that you all will have to do when it comes to correspondence?
Currently today, it's something we have to do. That's not to say that we couldn't open it up for everybody else to do, but currently today, when the system is set up, Springer Miller will go in and add the text that's needed. We're looking at different ways to push this out to more of a template based, that other people can do their own templates and put whatever they want in those templates for the body.
Okay. Will it work if we don't have a CC swipe adapter but a separate CC terminal?
No, because currently we're certified. We're to be certified using the certain swipers. That if we had it standalone, I believe that would be communicating over like a Bluetooth connection or similar, and that's not part of the first delivery. The credit card swipers for swiping credit cards are about, I believe, $180.
How would getting our guest keys to their units fit into this process? Is there any integration or in place or planned?
From guest key perspective, well,
the simplest way, Mark, is the system will generate keys to wherever you have key units placed. So you have the ability, our system communicates with the key printers and it can print to them automatically, and at that point you can take those keys and give them to those customers. We're doing investigation on technology that might someday enable us to generate keys using these devices, but at this point we don't necessarily have something that does that. But out of the box, it works with the key generator systems automatically.
Excellent. Without being able to obtain a signature, doesn't that present problems with liability should someone refuse to pay? It seems like the signature is what makes it binding.
Well, we're still printing off reg cards. I guess I don't understand the question. We'll still print the reg cards off to any designated local printer. And then the next release that we have will have digital signature right on the screen for them to bind. And so my assumption means the credit card not being signed at that point in time. And so what we'll do is present the reg card.
Yeah, I think that was more of a leading question to the digital signature capture, which will be released in the next iteration. Does the app work with iPad minis or iPhone 5?
We have not tested the minis or on an iPhone. Right now it's currently just for iPad.
But we're expecting we're expecting it should work with the mini with no issues. And so, but we haven't tested it fully with the mini, but there's no reason it shouldn't. We are not expecting it to work with an iPhone 5.
For the iPad mini, it might there's an awful lot of information displayed, especially on the view of the guest, of the reservation view.
Is there a max simultaneous connection limit?
There's not.
It's a nice and easy one. If the system works through cellular data, what marketing sales features are available for our sales staff to use remotely?
You know, I think that's the app does what it does. Right. So you have all the data about all your guests and everything with you in real time everywhere you go, which is always very helpful, right? And if you have GladResponder in place with the next version, you'll also be able to see all the attributes about that person. So as somebody's roaming around, you'll know which guests care about, which people are into charter fishing, which people are into snowmobiling, or whatever the subjects are, and you'll have all that information with you in real time. So the system enables you to essentially make that happen. So from a sales perspective, knowledge is power, information is effective, and it allows you to really be more effective at working with those people automatically.
We have a couple of questions regarding serve base and chip and pin. Can you still swipe the credit card for authorization even though it's not connected to a processor?
I'm not sure if I understand that question.
In certain countries, it's going to require a chip and pin connection that you're going to need a specific processor So I guess we don't have the answer to that one just yet, as we were working with two. It sounded as though you had two credit card swipe companies.
Yeah, we're doing some research on the chip and pin process. The chip and pin process is not a limit of us, it's a limit of the credit card swiping machines. And so we are trying to find some that can support those for Europe right now. And once we're able to designate and find those units that actually work in a mobile-based environment, we'll enable them. But I think currently we don't support the chip and pin piece. Is that right, Mark? Correct. But we're definitely working on it. So.
And here's not a question, but some feedback. Overall, it looks great, really simple to use, so that's good to hear. So another question we have here is, what is the difference between gladTOHAVEYOU regular versus the professional version, features and cost? There's going to be, as Keith had mentioned earlier, we can have a full-on professional version session set up for anyone specifically, or even as a group that we can, if there's enough interest, have a large webinar specific for that. If you'd like to maybe give a quick overview or touch on some of the features, Keith, that may be helpful too.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, gladTOHAVEYOU Professional is, the main bread and butter of our company. It's an entire guest management system that manages the entire process and interactions with your guests in real time, providing them everything they need to know about their stay. So essentially what the system does is it immediately, as a guest books their vacation based on rules inside our system, it invites the guest to get access to all their information. It tells them everything about the reservation, everything about the unit, everything about the property, everything about the area, all the cool things to do in that area, restaurants, activities, events, directories, points of interest. It can be specific to your resort or any information you want to share around those specific places. And then using that, it really provides the guest an intimate knowledge on all the great things to do on their vacation. It also then allows you to communicate with those guests through real-time notifications, speaking to a specific individual, anybody staying in a specific unit, anybody staying in a specific property, or anybody staying in a specific area. And you can schedule notifications to happen automatically. So you can set it up so 7 days before a guest arrives, it's going to tell them a specific thing, or 1 day before they leave, or whatever you want to do, or 30 days later. And then as they do those things, it's watching and learning based on the choices that the guests make. It enables us to literally create real-time personas about what guests care about. So that you can essentially identify that mom's into spas and dad likes golf and the kids are into water sports. And all that knowledge then gets turned into marketing tools that allows you to then take that data and actually send notifications to guests to bring them back over and over, or to push and sell them services while they're there. So it's a good 1 hour webinar to see the entire platform. And it's fully integrated with SMS Anywhere as well. So.
Thank you. And that looks like the majority of the questions. We have some that are a little bit more specific and streamlined. So if we didn't get to your question just now, please feel free to email us those directly, or we may email you back the answers to those directly. Are there any other questions that we have at this moment? Okay. Feel free to continue to ask questions. Oh, we have a very good question. Is this available? When is this available? Now?
The answer is the product is just finished going through certification, and so we're taking orders for the product and starting implementation at customer sites now. So.
Great. There are a couple other requirements. Keith, I've just made you presenter. If you'd like to go ahead and bring up the next slide. Okay, so we're seeing the system requirements here. With version 1, you are going to be required to have version 19 of SMS host. So that will be a requirement. Again, as we stated earlier, you do need version 4 of diphost. And as we stated, iOS 7 on Apple tablets today are required. Other platforms will be investigated moving forward into the future. A few things that will be coming in 1.5, we touched on traces. We'll be including itineraries, mobile digital registration, document scanning as well, and we also touched on signature capture, which is not listed here. We have special pricing through the end of the year. If you do sign up now, it will be a $2,500 one-time fee. This includes the licensing and installation fees. And then after that, it will be a $400 per month costs. That will be through the end of the year. So thank you, everyone, for your time today. Please contact your account manager to begin the process. This is there's a lot of interest here. A lot of people are looking to move mobile, so the quicker you contact your account manager, the sooner that we can begin the process and have you scheduled for implementation. You can reach out to Keith at keith.landers@gladtohaveyou.com. You can reach out to myself at Brian_Grapham at springermiller.com. And it looks like we did have a couple other follow-up questions. Oh, there we go. It was just answered in the slideshow.
I'll just mention that if anybody would like a copy of the deck to share with the rest of their employees, just send me an email separately, and I will send you a copy of the deck. So,
great. Thank you very much. Everyone have a wonderful day, and take care.